Hello Internet and welcome once again to Ask MMOBomb, the show where you ask questions, we give you the answers. I'm your host, as always, Magic Man, and I like wearing black Hawkins shirts in front of a black background because that's just kind of the guy that I am. So, real quick update. A few weeks ago, we gave a couple pairs of Gunnar eyeglasses away. Want to congratulate the winners. You should see their names right here. That's Sir Jaxie and Melon Cider. Now, part of the deal was that each winner would have to provide the weird location they were going to wear the glasses. If they won, they had to take pictures and send them in. So first up, Melon Cider's picture, who promised me they would wear their glasses in their pajamas with a motorcycle helmet out in public near the highway. And they were pretty upset that I picked them as a winner. But they got a free pair of Gunners, so here's their picture. Second winner was Sir Jaxie, who actually made a YouTube video thanking MMOBomb for the glasses. You're very welcome. Thank you for being a follower and a fan. He made an unboxing video, so I'm going to roll a little of that footage here while I'm talking. Now, Sir Jaxie's deal was he was going to wear the glasses in the tub. Sir Jaxie has some things that he has to sit and soak in the tub for a little while periodically each day. So, while he's in there, he uses a Google netbook type thing and has fun there. So, yeah, leans the Google book against the toilet and does his thing. True to his word, he did send me pictures. They were not graphic. Stop that. Stop thinking like that. They were nice pictures of him in the tub with his Gunners on his book, on his netbook there. I'm going to leave it at just the thank you video. He was true to his word. I do have the pictures, but I'm not going to feed the internet trolls with pictures of guys in tubs. Sorry, guys. So congratulations to both winners. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for future giveaways as well. So let's get to your questions for this week. Alright, first question comes from Slayer287able, who says, do you know about the Ouya, and will MMOBomb be covering their games? Yes, we do know about the Ouya. In fact, I wrote an article on MMOBomb.com. If you just search for Ouya, there's a text article there that I wrote when Ouya was still on Kickstarter and raised bajillions of dollars. And we also covered it pretty extensively on a free-to-play cast. So, hit MMOBomb.com, type in Ouya, both of those results will come up, and you can see our coverage of what was happening with it and what we knew about it at the time and some updates that have happened to it. Now, will we cover its games gets a little bit harder. Remember, on last week's episode, we talked about covering smartphone games and console-based games, and Ouya, I think, kind of falls into that smartphones category, where although the developers are demanding that some aspect of every game have a free-to-play component, the games aren't inherently free-to-play themselves. So, it's going to be hard to weed through games that already exist on, smartphones and things like that just aren't worth covering, games that claim some type of free thing and then it ends up being some type of trial. So, I wouldn't look for a ton of Ouya coverage, except for maybe those rare titles that come along that are truly a free-to-play model, like you know them today with the MMOs and the first-person shooters, third-person shooters, things like that. I would look for those. They would be few and far between. And again, the Ouya does require a purchase of the actual console itself, so there's always that too. How many people buy the Ouya and what type of coverage they're looking for on the free games there, obviously that's going to dictate whether we have an audience to show that stuff too. So I wouldn't look for a ton of Ouya coverage, but I'm sure there will be some titles that will be worth covering, just simply because their scope and their player base is large enough, and their free-to-play component is better or good enough, that it would be worth covering. I kind of stick that more towards consoles than smartphones, but there's going to be that deluge of crap, obviously. I mean, just search your smartphones marketplace if you've got enough of that stuff. So, yeah, I don't see a reason why we wouldn't cover it. I do plan on buying one, whether I'll use it a lot or not, who knows. But it's all going to depend on the games, the player base, and how free-to-play are they. We don't want to get into covering games that are just a free trial. And I know some of you are, well, Star Wars is just a free trial. I agree with you. Can't really argue. Next question! Okay, next question today comes from Euron26. Now, as you can see, we are indoors again at one of my computers. Unfortunately, I've been a little bit under the weather. I'm glad my voice is back. There were one or two first look videos where my voice is pretty rocky. I apologize for that, but I really wanted to get you glimpses of those games. And I had a nice, cool outdoor location picked, but the weather around here hasn't really been cooperating. So I figured we'll bring it indoors again, and Euron26's question has to do with my computer anyway that was in last week's show. So, the indoor setting it is again. Sorry. So Euron26 wants to know what are the specs on my computer. There's a few computers in the place here, but I'm going to assume that you want to know the specs of this one here, which actually is the one I use for first look videos and streaming and things like that. So this is pretty much the gaming computer that I use for most of the MMOBomb.com stuff. So, Intel i7 at 3.2 gigahertz, 12 gigs of RAM, Windows 64, Windows 7 64-bit, graphics card is the, see if I can remember this, Radeon, actually, there it is, box up there, the Radeon HD 5870, that's got DDR5 RAM on it as well, 2 terabyte hard drive, and my internet connection is a fiber optic connection running at 75 megs of up and down speed. So I think that about covers it. This is the one, like I said, that I use for most MMOBomb things. First look videos, it's this machine. Streaming is usually this machine. And this is the machine that the free-to-play cast gets compressed and all that fun audio stuff to give it the best quality sound. Don't actually record on the computer itself. But this is where I do all the audio and video editing. This show, I do the video editing on here as well. So this is kind of the main machine. There's a few secondary machines that Damina and I use for other things. So there's the specs. Next question. Next question comes from Silovsky, who says, do you think the secret world will go free to play? Really? Really? Alright. I'm going to avoid the part of the question that just says, will it go free to play? Of course, it's going to go free to play at some point. Just about every subscription-based MMO does it at some point. Just about every subscription-based MMO does it at some point. However, I think maybe more directly and more to your point is, do I think it will go free to play sooner rather than later? I do. I played the Secret World for probably about a month or two. I was in a lot of the betas and early alphas, and so I had quite a bit of experience with the game, and I enjoyed a great deal of the game. Funcom was doing something new. They tweaked a few things and ran in different directions. I was really happy with a lot of the game. Combat left a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. I know that they have done some changes to that. I did jump back in and check it. It's a little bit smoother, but it's still not quite where I would like it. All in all, I enjoyed the game, but not enough to sub, and I think that's a lot of Secret World players, is that they bought the game, they maybe subbed for a month, and then they liked the game, but not enough to shell out the $15 a month. Not to mention that the game, if you don't know, also has a cash shop inside it, which is a little confusing for somebody that's already making sub money. Now, Funcom's been very public about a few things here and hasn't really been in the best press lately, and we've talked about this on the free-to-play cast as well. They do acknowledge that the Secret World did not do as well as they thought. In fact, there were comparisons to, of course, Age of Conan and that launch. They also had some structure changes, they had some layoffs, they had some executive changes, so a lot's going on for Funcom. They've also said that they probably aren't going to look for big, ambitious titles anymore. They're going to focus on games that have a shorter development time. I read that to be Facebook games, social phone games, that type of thing. And I think that's where everybody kind of thinks that they're going to go. So now they've also said that the Secret World could make the conversion to free-to-play without too many problems, but that they don't foresee it going free anytime soon. Neither did EA BioWare. I think Secret World goes free. I'm going to make a bold prediction here. It's probably not all that bold, but I'm going to say end of March 2013. Between now and then, Secret World will have some type of free-to-play mechanic. Probably fully free-to-play. But I could see them doing something like BioWare did with the Old Republic, where it's a certain portion of the game is free. But I'm going to say by the end of March 2013, Secret World will be free-to-play. That'll put it just at the end of the first quarter earnings for Funcom. And so I think that would be a logical stepping point. What do you guys think? Put it in the comments below. Next question. Alright, so speaking of the Old Republic, Star Wars, DJ7223 asks, hey Magic Man, what do you think of the Old Republic going free-to-play? I've read some places that think the game had to go, and I've read some places where they think they just wanted the game to go free-to-play. What are your thoughts? Good question. Now, this is really tricky for me because I'm not a Star Wars guy. That's just not me. Oh, Kashyyyk is 3 wise. No, I'm not going to open it. Alright, so I'm a little bit of a Star Wars guy. I loved the Old Republic when it first came out, just like many Star Wars fans, and I was looking for a lot from it, and I totally enjoyed 1 through 50. I'm not going to talk about more of my thoughts on the game itself. Take a look into the free-to-play cast, and the first look that just got posted a few days ago for Star Wars The Old Republic that I did. I spend a great deal of that first look going through some of the free-to-play conversion pieces for you and give my opinions there. DJ, in regards to your question though, do I think it had to go, or did BioWare EA just want it to go free-to-play? It had to go. I think that one's kind of easy. One, everybody saw the player base falling. Everybody saw the bad press. Everybody saw the bugs being advertised. Everybody saw the updates not being as fast or as content-filled as originally advertised. So everybody saw that. However, I look at it this way. If EA BioWare wanted the game to go free-to-play, they sure as hell would not have done it within the first year. It came as a lot of bad press for EA that the game was going free-to-play, and that it was doing so within about 8 months from launch. They had announced in November we're going to be free-to-play. If EA BioWare had wanted this to go free-to-play intentionally, that was their plan from the beginning, I could very well see something like let's run it for a sub for a year, then make it go free-to-play, and arguably it may not even be considered free-to-play by many. I don't think there's any way around saying that it had to go free-to-play. They had already had so much negative press that the last thing you want to do is say, oh, we're going free-to-play and we're not even a year old, and have that be your original intent. I think there was a very big need for it to go free-to-play in an attempt to increase the player base and then hope that that player base will stick around and become a sub. I don't think it's going to work. Next question. Alright, our last question of the day comes from Woots91, and it's a long-ass question. Woots91 says, hey Magic Man, I guess my question is, where do you see MMO gaming about 30 to 50 years from now? Virtual reality? Are the WoW servers still online? I guess I'm just asking because current MMOs are kind of getting boring, or maybe I'm just getting older. I love the show. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Woots91. Glad to have you as an MMO bomber. 30 to 50 years? You want me to project out what MMO space is going to look like when I'm 65 to 85? Alright, I'll take a stab at it. Will the WoW servers be online? In some capacity, I do think so. I think they'll be online, not on Blizzard's side, of course. I think it's going to be private servers and people that just want to try to keep the game alive. You still see Star Wars Galaxies. There's a community that's dedicated to the pre-combat patch servers, trying to keep those up and running, one or two of those. Not going to tell you where. Not going to tell you. Google. And you just see those dedicated fan bases that stick to games. Hell, I still play Zork every now and then. So, yeah, I think the WoW servers, they won't be online from a Blizzard perspective, but I do think that you will have the ability to play the game somewhere, should you really want to. Virtual reality. We've talked about the Oculus Rift on the free-to-play cast, and Hawken supporting that when it's developed and produced in 2013. And I think that's an interesting shift. It's one of those things we definitely have to check out before you're going to shell out money for it. Because we've just seen, 3D goggles and virtual reality goggles fail time after time after time. So it's something that consumers are going to be cautious about to begin with. But where do I see the MMO space as a whole? I do think virtual reality will be a part of that. The technology is getting very advanced very quickly. Just take a look at where we're at now in late 2012. And your question goes on 30 to 50 years into the future. Well, let's go into the past. That's early 1980s to early 1960s, if you go 30 or even 50 years back. Think about what we have now that we didn't then. I certainly wouldn't be broadcasting to you in HD. Depending on what year you want to pick as your 50-year mark, whether you go back into the 50s or even the 40s, I might not even be broadcasting to you in color. Hell, it might be a radio show if you go back far enough. But just look at, that's a relatively small period of time, and look at the technological leap that's happened in that. Now, technology has a nasty habit, though, of growing exponentially, which is good as far as great new gadgets and things to play with. But it's also bad from a perspective that we tend not to really master anything before we move on to that next tech. So that would be my concern. I do think virtual reality will be a part of not only the MMO space, but the gaming space 30 to 50 years from now. I think computers are going to look drastically different than they do now, and you're already starting to see a shift in this whole type of setup being compiled into just one of these at this size. And then, obviously, tablets are taking that to the mobile extent. So, yeah, virtual reality is going to be a part of it. WoW servers will be private. Obviously, they won't be by Blizzard, but you'll still be able to play the game if you really want to. Oculus Rift, I think, gives us a nice indication of where things are going. Computers are drastically going to change. And I think gaming, from an MMO standpoint, this is my biggest factor. I think MMO gaming in particular is going to benefit the most from technological leaps. Because now instead of me interacting with an avatar who's interacting with an avatar who's being interacted with by another person on the other side of two computers and a server, it's going to change to me interacting with you. Think something like Second Life, where both of us are actually standing in that environment, at least from the perspective of all of our senses. We're standing in that environment. So yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. I'm definitely interested in what's going to happen. Hard to project out. Do I think the exclamation point and question mark questing system is going to be around much longer? Nope. I think that's going away very shortly. Guild Wars 2 kind of smacked the game industry with that change to the questing system. Rift picked it up in its expansion. I know that's sub-based, but I'm a Storm Legion player. They've kind of picked that same type of thing up where environment and exploration leads to questing. So I think a lot of the core mechanics, a lot of the way we play them, it's going to be entirely different. And I think it's going to be much more dependent on us interacting with each other as a game, rather than you and I walking around interacting with an environment of NPCs. I think the game's going to be more towards the Second Life aspect of things, where us interacting is the game. So, what do you think? 50 years is a long time. Well, that's all the time we have for today, gang. I thank you for sticking around. Thank you for bearing with my little bit of a froggy voice. Like I said, just getting over this cold. So, if you've got questions, put them in the comments below. It's your questions that keep this show going. You can come on over to MMOBomb, put your comments there. You can email them directly to magicman@MMOBomb.com. And if you could, do me a favor while you're down there, click like, show your support. Come on over to the site, sign up. We got a lot of great shows coming. We've started the live streaming. We've started a new show where we interview gamers around the world. Anybody that wants to be on that show can apply. There's a lot of great stuff going on. I hope you'll stay and be a part of it, and tell all your friends as well. Until next time, gang, this is Magic Man saying stay safe, and we'll see you out on the servers.
Moving, they be watching, so I'm out here doing work. Then I get the party popping, cause with every minute wasting, know my chances steady dropping.